Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we're doing a comparative review of the Square Enix Play Arts Kai Super Street Fighter 4 action figures. These are the only 6 they've released so far, not counting paint variants because those are silly anyway, I think. You don't really need those, especially for expensive figures like these. What's the point of having a paint variant? I don't get it personally. But if you have that, that's cool. These are all the Player 1 outfits, and that's all I'm really concerned with. Ken and Sakura should be coming out soon, but they're not here yet. So this will give you an idea of what you need if you're trying to catch up before the next batch. Top left and bottom left are Guile and Ibuki. They are the newest ones. They came out relatively recently. Both great figures. Well, they're all great figures. I'll point out a couple issues on all of them as we go, but they're still all really good. Then we ended up with the second to last batch were Akuma and Kami. Then the first batch were Ryu and Chun-Li. They're all awesome figures. A lot of people complain about the faces on the figure, saying that they're not very good. I think Ibuki's is just about perfect. I know it's kind of hard to see there with her hair in the way, but you can see it that it is fairly accurate. If you want to look at it in closer detail, you can check out the individual reviews for each of the figures. Kami is also very good. I don't really have any complaints for her. Same thing with Chun-Li. And this is partly keeping in the pattern of Play Arts being a lot better at making female figures. I don't know what it is, but they seem to be. And those 3 faces are all perfect. Guile's face, although I think Guile's face looks just about right. I mean, I don't really have any complaints with that either, so I'm happy with that. Now, here we do have some problems with Ryu. It's okay, I don't really have any complaints with it, but there's just something that's not quite right. It doesn't match the game. None of them really match the game, which is good because I don't like the faces in the game. But it doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't quite look like Ryu. And maybe that's just because they mostly draw him more American looking instead of Japanese. I don't know. But there's just something that's a little bit off, but it's still a decent work. And then Akuma. Now, if you look at it just like that, it looks perfectly fine. They did do a little bit of weird sculpting. It's based on one kind of obscure piece of reference art that nobody really is familiar with. So a lot of people really freaked out when they saw this guy's face. It has kind of a weird shape. But for me, after looking at it for a couple seconds, you get used to it and it looks just fine. So I don't really have a problem with it. A lot of people do, but I think if you like the character at all, after handling it for a few minutes, you'll be used to the kind of odd design and you'll be perfectly happy with it. I know a couple other people that I talked to have had same experiences in that it looks weird at first, but you get used to it. Now, as far as general quality control issues, they're all pretty good. None have a whole lot of problems. His right shoulder, the butterfly joint, tends to stick. That's easily fixed by sticking in a super fine flathead screwdriver and just kind of prying it a little bit to just kind of move that butterfly joint around to pop it free. It should work, no problem there. What other ones have issues? Kami has some issues with the paint on her outfit. As you can see, it's not quite good for that floating crotch piece, and then the line work along the edges isn't completely clean. Ibuki has somewhat loose joints in the arms sometimes, so that's not ideal. Not really a problem though. Akuma's necklace can't go on the way there's a peg in the necklace to hold it in place. If you want it to look decent at all, which is kind of how I have it here, you need to undo that peg. Not a big deal, but it's something to consider. Guile is kind of hit or miss. He's got a few flaws or minor problems in just general quality control, but nothing that is a common issue as far as I could tell. Chun-Li and Kami both have ugly knee joints. They both have those old school Play Arts knees that don't have a kneecap. So when you bend them, they're a little bit ugly, but that's not really an issue because you know that going into it. Otherwise, they're all pretty solid. There's no real problems with any of them other than the little things that I mentioned that are all perfectly deal-withable, as I like to say. Scale-wise, they're not 100% in scale. I think Ryu should probably be maybe a little bit shorter, and, well, maybe not. Guile is supposed to be about 6 feet, I think, and Ryu is like 5'7", so maybe he's a little short, or 5'8". I don't remember. I didn't check the heights, but they're relatively in scale. They're not exact, but they're pretty close. The biggest problem I have is that Chun-Li is pretty tall. She's not supposed to be that tall, I don't think, and I'm pretty sure Ibuki is supposed to be a little bit taller. So they're not perfect, but the ladies are shorter than the guys. Ryu's shorter than Akuma and Guile. So they're close enough, and it's definitely good enough to deal with. They all come with a particular energy effect. Guile has his Sonic Boom, even though he only has one side of it due to the Street Fighter 4 artwork. He still has it. Ryu has, what does Ryu have? A Hadoken. Akuma has whatever his Shoryuken is called. I don't know his offhand. Ibuki, does she have one? I don't know if she has one. I think she might just have the alternate hand with the daggers in there. I'm not sure. I don't think she has one offhand. Huh, that's interesting. I just noticed that. Kami has the thing that goes on her foot for the cannon drill. I think that's what it's called. It's been forever since I played, so I can't remember. I think it's called the cannon drill. The one where she spins sideways and kicks. No, the one where she goes up at an angle and kicks with her feet, obviously. Either way, whatever. And Chun-Li also has I think she has a fireball, the Kikoken, I think. But either way, they all come with their own effects. The new batch, which would be Guile and Ibuki, come with bases, the Play Arts display stands. The other guys don't, but their effects have bases if they need them. So that's kind of cool, little stands. So all in all, it's a really great line of Street Fighter figures. Of course, I'm partial to the Soda line, but this is kind of like a whole different category. So I recommend these 100%. They are kind of like the ultimate Street Fighter action figures, I think. And that's separating them in a different category from Soda, because those are the ultimate like 6-inch figures. These are completely different since they cost between, I'd say, 50 and 80 bucks, I think. So separate category, ultimate figures, can't go wrong. There it is, guys. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more figure reviews, custom figures, and other good stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting.